Okay guys, today we're going to see exercises from page 181, number 6, O, and number 6T from the workbook. 6O says 3 to the 0 plus 3 to the 1 minus 3 to the negative 1. Now, how are we supposed to solve that? We know that 3 to the 0, guys, is 1. Okay, we know that because that's one of the laws that we've seen before. 3 to the 1 is 3. We already know that anything to the first power is that same number, so it's 3. And 3 to the negative 1, guys, remember that this property says that you can put that as 1 over that number. In this case, 3 to the 1. But 3 to the 1, it's really 3. So that's why I can change 3 to the negative 1 as 1 over 3. And then all you have to do, guys, it's 1 plus 3 minus 1/3. Common denominator, it's 3. And so we do 3 divided by 1 because remember, guys, that this is over 1. And this is also over 1. And whenever I do 3 divided by 1, 3 times 1, it's 3. 3 divided by 1, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 divided by 3 is 1 times negative 1, it's negative 1. And then all I have to do is add 3 plus 9 minus 11, and I get, as a result, 11/3. Okay, that's the answer to these. Remember that, guys, none of these exercises can be done with a calculator. You have to do them only with properties. Okay, let's take a look at letter T. Now, whenever I have a mixed fraction, guys, I need to change that mixed fraction into an improper fraction. How do we change into improper fraction, guys? Remember that you multiply 2 times 2. Well, you multiply the whole number times this one, and then you add this number. So 2 times 2, 4, plus 1, 5. So 5 halves, okay? So once I have it as an improper fraction, I know that 5 halves to the negative 2 is the same thing as flipping this around, guys, and changing your exponent to positive. Okay, that's what the property says. So that's how I get 2/5, and the exponent here becomes positive because I already flipped them around, right? So I have 2/5 to the 2. And then each one of these has to be to the second power. So that's why I have 2 to the 2 over 5 to the 2. And 2 to the 2 is 4, and 5 to the 2 is 25. So my final answer is 4/25. Okay? Then, the other exercise that we're going to see, it's page 182, number 7, N, O, and P. I want to see the difference, guys, between N and O. Notice that in here, guys, my exponent, negative 1, is affecting P and Q because it's indicated with this parentheses. Because of that, that means that P times Q, I can put all of that over 1 over PQ. Whenever I change 1 over PQ, my exponent becomes positive, and that is how now it is 3 multiplying 1 over P times Q to the 1. What you're really doing, if this would have been another number, then you would have to do 1 to that number over P to that number times Q to that number. In this case, it's 1, so 1 to the 1 is 1, P to the 1 is P, and Q to the 1 is Q. And then, guys, all you have to do is multiply. This, remember that it's the same thing as 3 over 1, so 3 times 1 it's 3, and 1 times PQ it's PQ. And that's how you get as a final answer, 3 over PQ. Letter O, 3P times Q to the negative 1. Notice that it looks similar, but it's not the same. P and Q are not in parentheses, so that means that negative 1, it's only affecting my Q. Since it's only affecting Q, then I can change Q into 1 over Q. Obviously, this would be 1 over Q to the 1, but 1 to the 1 is 1, and Q to the 1 is Q. That's why I didn't put it anymore, okay? And then all you have to do is multiply. You should know that this is the same thing as 3P over 1, so 3P times 1, it's 3P, and 1 times Q, it's Q. And so your final answer it's 3p over q. And finally, letter P, xy to the 3 over y to the negative 2. Remember that whenever you have a parenthesis with an exponent, each of the terms, if it's a multiplication, has to be affected by the exponent. So that is why I have x cubed and y cubed. Once I have it this way, guys, I have two options. The first one, I either use the property of subtraction of exponents when they're dividing, or you make this a positive exponent and you put it on the top. So let's take a look at the first option. I would have x cubed and then y and then 3 minus 2, because that's what the rule says. If they're dividing, I would have to do a subtraction. When I do that, then you have 3 minus 2, which it's really 3 plus 2, and that would end up giving me x cubed, which multiplies y to the 5th. If I do it the other way, guys, then this negative 2 makes the y come as a numerator. So it comes to the top. And so I would have x cubed times y squared. They're multiplying, and if they're multiplying, the exponents add together. And so I would end up with x cubed times y to the 5th. Notice, guys, that I get the exact same answer. So for these problems, there's not only one way of doing it. As long as you use correctly the properties, there's different ways in which you can solve a lot of these exercises. Okay? If you have any more questions, guys, let me know.